So modern slavery and bribery awareness, we are doing this because of all of the European contracts we have. When you look at Europe, this is all over the place. Every country in Europe has these policies, New Zealand, Australia, because it's something because of the different parts of the world that they're so close to over there. They really have had to create laws and things like that to make sure that this doesn't happen. But unfortunately, a little bit farther along, you'll see how really common it is. So no one should be held in slavery, servitude, forced or compulsory labor, and/or human trafficking. So what is modern slavery? It's modern slavery, according to the United States Department of State, it comprises of all acts of involuntary servitude for financial gain or economic exploitation, including slavery or practices similar to slavery, debt bondage, unlawful recruiting, human trafficking, and forced labor. Now, that statistic on the bottom I found really shocking and depressing. In 2016, there were an estimated 40 million people in slavery globally. In 2021, that number has increased by 10 million. So the fact that 40 million people are being used and abused throughout the world, probably 50 by now, I think is something that we don't really think about here, I don't think, in the United States. But because our business is now moving international, we have to be aware of things like this. Okay. The law says that it is unlawful to provide or obtain the labor or services for financial exploitation through physical restraint, using a strategy, plan, or pattern to make the person feel that they are or another person will be seriously harmed. If you don't do this, we'll do this to your family. And utilizing threats with the law or legal process in an improper manner, which means that if I show up and I'm working for you and you take my passport, which is what they do sometimes in Dubai when they built the huge soccer stadium. They took all of those employees' passports so they couldn't leave till the job was done. And who knows what else they really did to them. So I can't withhold your passport, or I can't say, if you don't do what I want you to do, I will call the police, just like in the United States with the harassment and everything. If I think that your paperwork might not be legal and you're not authorized to work in the United States, I could threaten you to call INS. Okay, and it's against the law for the purpose of providing labor services to solicit, recruit, harbor, transport, and broker. I thought that was pretty interesting. Third-party brokering, like a recruiting action over here, and I'm the broker for that deal, and I have an agreement with these people to hire them, and I'm that third person. And like I said, it's illegal to confiscate or withhold any kind of documents, either fraudulent, fake, or real. So they have an awareness that all of these documents are being utilized to get jobs in other countries. Types of modern slavery. I was kind of shocked about all of this. Low wages, unsafe working conditions, everything that we do over here with OSHA and the Fair Labor Standards Act, everything that's protected in the United States is not protected around the world. Excessive deductions from paychecks. Can you believe you pay me $1,000 to get you that job? You can't leave work. Hold on just a second. Let somebody else in. Okay. You can't leave work or go home. You can't make decisions about your own life. They could have you housed in a certain place. And victims can be exploited for multiple purposes in the same location. I can come over and I think that I'm going to help build a stadium, and then all of a sudden I'm over here building a train thing and I can't come home. And they're exploited by the offenders or someone other than the offender. They could be traded off to somebody else. Criminal exploitation is that criminal means that you're doing it for financial gain or benefit. That's the difference in criminal. And it can also make you participate in criminal activities like petty theft, pickpocketing, false marriages. I mean, things that I really would never, I guess I live in a kind of naive world over here. Welfare fraud, panhandling, and drug production. And I was thinking about the movies where they would process all the, back in the 80s, the cocaine and everything. I just watched an 80s movie and they were doing that. And cannabis gardening, farming for cannabis. And another one is like they do in China with the Uyghurs, and they take your organs. They could kidnap you off the street. They can they go to this Uyghur society in China, I know, because they really lead a pure life. They don't eat meat, they don't drink, they don't smoke. So if anybody's organs are going to be pretty clean, it would be theirs. And then what they do is they pick you up, they take your organs out, they release you, and they sell your organs on the black market. Industries at risk for modern slavery. It's pretty much, any bulk kind of things are really great. Construction, manufacturing, agriculture, and domestic workers. And these people can be found in private residence, transportation hubs, because that's where they're looking for the people. I can't also imagine with some of the stuff that's going on in Ukraine that some of those people haven't fallen into some of these situations. And medical facilities. I know that right down here in Owings Mills where I live, it's not slavery, but the workers come up from the city, and then the construction crews or whoever goes out there, and they like auction people off for how long they want to work, what jobs they want to do, and how much money they want for the day. So a similar practice is here, but we can't take away your passport or your driver's license or anything like that. Okay, domestic servitude. They can get free housing, I guess, if you can consider that, but they get no pay in a private house where they're also abused, humiliated, or subjected to horrible conditions. They can be an immediate family member, an intimate partner. That's considered domestic servitude in a lot of countries around the world. And then they have a hard time leaving because the abuser can control them, their possessions, or their passport. And they can threaten to do harm to their family members. Signs of modern slavery, just in case you guys are on the lookout for it. And if you're going to call with somebody from Q1, these could be some things that you could pick up. Debt bondage. Remember indentured servitude back in the day when people wanted to come to America and you would have to come here and work your debt off to get your pass here? That's or that's going on. They show evidence of control or movement of the individual or the collective. They don't have any passport. They don't have any documentation. They don't have anything that can show them who they are. If they're kids, sporadic school attendance, and an unnatural haste to leave a protected area. If they're working somewhere and they don't want to leave, that could be something that's going on. How about they don't know their home or work address because they really don't know where they're going? They're picked up in vans. They're dropped off at a place. They're picked up there and they're taken home. If they have any kind of bruising or injuries that might look like some sort of control measure. Evidence that the workplace is being used for an accommodation. If there's sleeping bags all over a warehouse floor, that would be a great evidence. They really don't talk to strangers, security officials, and healthcare workers. They're afraid that, if the person who's controlling them catches them, that they could be in even more trouble when they get back to where they're going. Being dropped off or collected at work in the exact same manner or at the same time, or even at unexpected times, and especially early when everybody's asleep, or at night when everybody's asleep. And then homes and apartments with excessive numbers of occupants, all of who are collected and delivered at the same time. All right, so if you know of anybody, here's another thing. If you know of any of this that's going on and you don't tell anybody, you can be criminally charged. I don't know how they'd find out that you knew, but so here is more information. If you know of anybody or you think you might know of anybody, if you want to reach out to the Department of Justice or the National Trafficking Hotline, there's the number there. That's why I'll be giving you this. But as a member of the Rare Patient Voice team, if you are aware of anything that's happening with any of our foreign clients or patients, you need to report that to Wes or myself or anybody on the leadership team. It is imperative that we show up because we could be linked to this. We could be considered in collusion with those people. So it is extremely, extremely important that if you are aware that you let us know immediately. Okay, what is debt bondage? We just talked about that. They pay you to come to another country. They might give you housing. They might do everything. And then that's how they lure you in. And then after you get here, you owe them money. And then what happens? You have to work off it. And then get this. If your family members or anybody like that has debt and you're able to work it off, you could also inherit that debt. So it really is a huge, elaborate scheme to keep those people in those places. Human trafficking. A person is guilty of the crime of human trafficking if they force or coerce another individual to do work or services for financial gain. That's the whole thing. We have to think about financial gain. or to engage in sexual acts for the purpose of commercial gain. The coercion can take different forms. It can be physical or psychological. I can't imagine how over a period, just a short period of time, that could really lose who you are and your identity. And they can use any sort of forced deception or other forms of compulsion to exploit the minor for the sake of commercial sex activity. Forced labor. When work is carried out against your will, at least we have the option if we'd like to come to work at Rare Patient Voice every day. There are a lot of people around the world who do not have that option, and they show up and they probably work long hours with no weekends or holidays off. Recruiting. Recruitment people, they can work in several different countries to export those people to here, and they charge those workers a fee. And apparently there are legal fees that can be incurred by legitimate recruiters to do this, but it can exceed and be more than that person could ever make in their lifetime at 50 cents an hour. And they also endure harsher exploited conditions and to settle their debt. And I wonder sometimes if some people just never do. Okay, so employees and our third-party responsibilities. If we know of any employees, subcontractors, subcontractor employees and agents, anybody out there that we do business with, that we physically touch, and we know about it, we need to do anything about it. And like I've said before, taking your passports, destroying your identities, using recruiters that don't comply with the local labor laws, charging employees the fees, failure to provide return transportation home. If they bring you into a foreign country, but it costs you, just flying from here to California, would be $250, and that's for the United States. So to not be able to pay for them to get home. And let's see, providing housing that fails to meet, get this, they have to provide housing that meets that country's housing standards. So I thought that was a pretty cool law if they abide by it. And failing to provide employment contract or work documents. In a lot of countries over there, you actually sign an employment contract. The United States is really the only place that doesn't do that. So if you go to Britain or you go to any of these places, there is a labor law physical contract that both parties do sign. What is bribery and corruption? You hear these words all the time, but sometimes it's you get it, but you don't. It's offering, promising, or giving a financial or other advantage to another person with the intention of breaching that expectation, knowing that what you're doing is wrong to begin with, and you continue to do it anyway. And the person that you're doing that with believes that you're acting in good faith. It jeopardizes the trust. And anything that you're doing for personal gain is bribery or corruption. What the law says. It's illegal to both give and take bribes in any capacity. Any employee or affiliated person is able to give or take a bribe. That means that our clients can, our employees can, anybody can. Bribes can also be given to the third party, the recruiter, the person who provides the housing, the person who has the work. There's just this huge net of people out there that are thriving on this industry. The bribes can include cash, gifts, favors, hospitality, payments for loans, business opportunities, and other advancements I can think of right now. When they talk about the justice, did he take a bribe or was it just a vacation? And where do those fine lines go? Our lines say that these are our lines and no one in the organization should go over that line. And there has to be a need for an incentive for the recipient of the bribe to engage in the behavior that's dishonest, criminal, or a violation of trust. So what are you doing for me? Examples of bribery. Here we go. Accepting vacations, the use of vacation houses, private jets, airfare, paying for or receiving goods or services for personal gain in order to influence a decision. Taking a bribe to influence one's choice. I can do this or I can do that. I'll give you $50 if you do this. Giving or accepting gifts and hospitality that are extravagant and beyond the scope of what is considered appropriate for your line of work. Like with you guys, if someone would send you a thing of flowers or a fruit basket or something in the normal lines of that, you can accept it. It's like called a nominal fee. Those are fine. But if someone's offering you to fly you to Europe to tour something and do this because we offer a service that they want, that would be inappropriate. And if you are ever approached by any of this criminal activity, you should contact Wes or I or anyone on the leadership team immediately when the event occurs. Don't pass go. Do not collect $200. Call somebody, just like in sexual harassment, bullying, or mobbing. Money laundering is the process. And you hear about money laundering all the time, but I really didn't know what it was, but I kind of knew. Individuals or organizations attempt to conceal proceeds or profits from unlawful activities. So if I'm making $100,000 over here because I have all of these illegal people working for me on my farm, taking care of my business, and I run it through my business as alternative expenses, like I just bought this huge John Deere piece of equipment for $250,000, that is wrong. And here's the thing. If you suspect that a customer or supplier is engaged in illegal activity, report it. We would comply with all the laws that prohibit money laundering or financing for illegal or illegitimate purposes. Reporting it, like I just said, don't waste any time, go right to Wes, and then we'll figure out what to do. I believe that we have to contact the Department of Justice. I mean, it is pretty serious how that escalates so quickly. Okay. Signs of money laundering. Unusual or secretive client. Yeah, we do all of this stuff. I have all of this money, but you don't have any sources where all of those money is coming from. Someone asked, who can see this transcript recording is on? That is for the purposes of all new hires who come on board with us to be able to see this program. 100% of Rare Patient Voice employees have to participate in this training. That's why I'm recording it today. Okay. Third-party funding. If you don't know where someone's getting all of this money, all of a sudden I'm buying fancy cars and I'm going on exotic vacations and I'm having all this fun. Where's all the money coming from? Or an unusual source of funds. Why would I know someone in Saudi Arabia to give me a bunch of funds? Or if they're all of a sudden, they wanted you to do something and the script was pretty rote, and then all of a sudden they're making all of these changes in the instructions to throw off the fact that something was going on that shouldn't be happening. Steps to preventing money laundering. We are supposed to, before opening an account or on an ongoing basis, we will check to ensure that a customer or vendor does not appear on the specially designated nationals and blocked persons list. And they're not engaging in activities prohibited by economic sanctions and embargoes administered and enforced by the U.S. Office of Foreign Asset Controls. I mean, this is just like out of this world kind of stuff. But I mean, a huge organization, you can see how something like this could happen. I'm not really sure in our small organization with our limited reach in Europe and all of these international countries, it would be a problem. But just to be on the lookout, that's what this training is all about. That's probably it in a nutshell. Like I said, in the handbook, it is, it's a couple of paragraphs. But to do business in Europe, this is just a general practice.